This video on making smoke in Fusion is quite rudimentary and just to the point for one effect. For a much broader view of how to use particles in Fusion, watch this video. It's quite a good video, and here is the URL for that video. It's also posted on Moodle. What we're going to do today is to take this video here, the little flying saucer, and throw some smoke behind it like that. So what we need to do is File, New Timeline. We'll call it Smoke Ship. Then we create that. And the only clip we really need is this one right here. We need the whole clip. So what you need to do is to go into the Effects library, into Effects and Fusion Composition, and drop it onto the timeline and make it longer. We'll need it about that long to fit the actual clip right here. Okay, now you go into Fusion and you'll see that you have a media out. And to start with, you want a background in there, which we're going to replace very shortly. Take that background and hook it to the media out. And then what we need to do is go to the particle emitters. Here we have P emitter, and you want to drag that onto here. And here we have the P render, and we'll drag that onto there. And the P emitter is what actually creates the particles that we can turn into smoke, and the P render determines a little bit what they look like. And first of all, you want to go into the P render, click on that, go into your tools here. And the output mode, we want it 2D. We're not working in 3D here. And then you connect these two together, and then take this and connect it to the background, and it creates a merge here. And that's what we're going to work with, is that particular merge. We can put that down there. We want this one a little bit out of the way, and everything will connect with the merge. And the merge is what will unite all the different things that we put together. And so now if you look at your P emitter, you can see it's right there. And you can work with the number of particles. You can see it here. We'll later change the scale of this, but we want to knock the number of particles down to begin with. And we want everything to be a little bit more random, so you're going to give it more random seed, a little bit more number variance, lifespan. You can knock that up a little bit, and the lifespan variance. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to exchange this background for this spaceship here. You take it and you drag it right on top, and it says you want to replace that, and of course you just agree with it. And you can see the beginning of the video, the spaceship is just kind of sitting there. So you can drag through this. And you can see that emitter slowly gaining seeds as we go. And now you want to go into the P emitter, and you want to change the actual, there's your original emitter, and then you can go into the qualities, and we want to change the style from point to blob. And you want to put a little bit of noise in there. And size controls, you want them larger, and you want some size variance in there. You can bump up a little bit your size to velocity. And here, if you want to change the size over the lifetime of the video, you can. So we go back to the emitter here. Well, one thing we could do, if you like, you could change the color of it. I think we'll make them a little bit green. And then if you want to work with the color variance, you can, so they're not all the same. All right, and then you go back to the emitter, and you want to work with the velocity. And once you see you knock up the velocity, you can see it streaming out of the back of the emitter there. Now, we don't want that angle. We want it going the other way around. So here you can kind of change the angle of it and spin it around here. And also you want to change the angle variance so that it comes out a little bit wider, so it looks kind of like smoke. Okay, now what you need to do is you need to get this to follow the actual ship itself. So we're just going to move this to the point where it starts to move. Okay, so you need to go into this here. It's called the region, and you click on that and you can see there's something called translation. We want to bring this back to the beginning, and we want to move this just right to where the ship is. I'm not going to fine tune it here. And we're also going to make at some point, we're going to make the sphere a lot smaller so it looks like it's emitting from one spot. You get your P emitter, and then you can start moving it. Make it a little bit smaller. You can just move it to there. And then what you do is you make sure to put keyframes on the offsets. And even the size you could change. Now you can move your cursor ahead a little bit. You see it start to move just to there, and then you move this forward a little bit to there. And then you move it further along. And you trail this right behind again. And you trail it right to there. Now you can also move this just working with the offset. See, you can move that back and forth, but it's very, very sensitive, these little wheels here. You can see it moves them quite a lot. So you're best off just moving that little circle, but you can do it either way. So now when we bring this back, you'll see the sparkles coming out of the back. And you can fine tune that a little bit better. And you could make the scale of them quite a lot larger. And the size to velocity, if you increase that, they'll become bigger. And the size variance, you want some variance there. Okay, now you could go into the P render and you could add some glow to it and some blur. So now you've got fairly decent smoke coming out here. And once it's rendered, it'll come out a lot cleaner. And we could go back to the P emitter, go to here, make the size of the sphere smaller so it really looks like it's coming out of the back of that. And then we go to here and increase a little bit the angle variance so it comes out a little bit wider. Now we want to do one extra thing here, and we're going to add something here called fast noise. And you drag it onto here and you connect it to the merge. Now, if you want to see what the fast noise looks like, you just click this little button and you can see the fast noise right there. And you can work with things like the scale, the contrast. You don't want too much contrast, the brightness. And there's something here called the seeth and the seeth rate. So you can get it seething. And again, you can work with things like the scale. The closer in you go, the more you scale back, the more you see kind of a grain there. Good, now we can bring this back. And you can work on all the different parameters if you like. We can go back to the P emitter, and if you want, you can even work with the color controls. You can actually work with the color over life controls. So at one end, you could start here and have a little bit more white, and then when you get to the end you could make it more green and kind of a darker green if you like. There we go. And again, you can play with the variances here so you get different colors. Now, to get a little bit more information how to use everything, the one video that I posted, you can actually use that. Okay, now let's go back to the beginning here. Now, you'd want to play around with this a lot more to get the smoke as you like it. And we don't really need to see that at the point. And here we can watch it with the smoke. Okay, and you can play with all of those variables to, for example, you can go back in and change the amount of blur and things like that, and the glow. And you can see a little bit of that noise in there, and you can change those. Okay, and then you can actually go on to here, and you'll see that all you need is the fusion composition, but you might want the sound in there. So what you can do is go to the media pool and just drop this on, and you can just kind of drop the sound in here. And you'll see that that first bit, nothing happens, so you can actually lop a little bit of that off, and then you get the sound with it. There you go.